his Ultra Necrozma, which outspeeds his opponent's Mega Salamence. So it's gonna be really tough here. Also the jump bluff, which we only saw in the very first game between the two, it didn't do a whole lot that game. James, I think, was leading with Mega Salamence and his own Ultra Necrozma, so both of them just outsped the jump bluff and KO'd it, even despite the focus sash. So jump bluff wasn't a factor in that series at all, but I think if it's paired up with a Primal Groudon, there's some ways that Juan could probably use it a little more to maybe spread some sleep, since we don't have any Tapu Fini around, no Tapu Koko, so it's gonna be the Psychic terrain, and that does not block sleep. So maybe that's something that Juan could look into. By the way, there we also have some of his accomplishments. Yeah, he's really done it all in the seniors division. He has been in the finals of this very tournament before, and he has already also won an international championship all the way over in Oceania, so he knows what it's like to play on the big stage. But in the Masters division, of course, facing players like Jeremy and now James, that's a little bit of a different caliber. So far, though, he's really been able to keep it up with them, and yeah, has now the chance to advance into the finals tomorrow.
Yeah, especially in that match for top 8 against Jeremy, you could tell that Juan really understood what that matchup looked like, how he could take control of that game, and the fact that he was so confident with that Game 3 lead really spoke volumes to how he understands how to play this composition.
Definitely. And then James, on the other hand, if we can have a look at his accomplishments, of course, that's a very long list as well. And most
especially
of his
for 2019.
Yeah, that's true. He's coming off of a top 4 finish at the Pokemon World Championships. He has been in the finals of this tournament last year when we were playing the Sun Series. And then he has also had a top 8 performance at Oceania and a top 16 in the North American International Championships, as well as a regional win and some other great accomplishments. So yeah, James really one of the best players we have at the moment, and he's using almost an identical team, but instead of the jump bluff, we are seeing the Excelgor, which is another one of those wildcard Pokemon that has helped him a lot during this tournament, but it hasn't really had its great showing on stream so far.
Do you feel like this is a chance when Juan might be able to take more advantage of the jump bluff that he has in his composition, where we could see the Excelgor?
Yeah, well, Excelgor, being a Pokemon that is naturally so fast, the way that James is using it, potentially with his Tapu Lele, activating the Unburden ability with Psychic Seed, doubling its speed, that's one of the few Pokemon that can outspeed a jump bluff in the sun that is doubling its own speed with the Chlorophyll ability.
Yeah.
So yes, that would be one way. However, you really have to think, well, against what Pokemon does Excelgor really do a good job? We can expect it probably to use the move Final Gambit, and that is a move that does exactly as much damage as you have a HP and then the Pokemon faints. So you really have to use that move very wisely, whereas if an opponent sees it coming, switches in a Pokemon that has a lot of HP, you lose a Pokemon and do not get a knockout, which in a mirror match like this can really be devastating. So if James decided to go with the Excelgor, he has to be really careful. A cute thing that you can do, though, is you can bring your own Excelgor, and you do not absolutely need to use Tapu Lele, because you can let your opponent set the Psychic terrain.
Yeah.
So you can also use it a little bit as a counter to his opponent's Tapu Lele, which gave him a fair amount of trouble in the previous encounter. Though at the same time, James came out on top of that with, I would say, a regular strategy. So maybe he feels like he does not need to switch things up a great deal. And instead, we could also just see James go for more of a standard approach, which would be bringing the Tapu Lele, the Necrozma, then the Groudon, and then either the Stakataka or the Salamence.
We might see a standard approach coming out from both of these players, because a lot of the Ultra format has been a bit about comfortability, but also particularly at the Latin American International Championships, it's also about what you know from your past years of experience.
And
oh wow, but what do you know?
Let's have a look at the game, because I think we are seeing exactly what we were talking about, as James is leading off with his Necrozma and that Excelgor. So Juan is the one setting up the Psychic terrain, activating Psychic Seed on that Excelgor and boosting, of course, the special defense, as well as activating its Unburden ability, which now doubles its speed. So Excelgor now the fastest Pokemon on the field, and that is exactly what James wanted to see here.
Yeah, he really wanted to get that speed up. Excelgor going to be able to take advantage of that even before Juan uses potentially a Magic Room ability set up on that Tapu Lele.
Yeah, that's true. So Magic Room, not really, that wouldn't really help Juan here at all, since, well, we know that it's a Z Crystal on the Necrozma, Excelgor already activating its item. So instead, maybe both of them might want to go on the offensive, but, well, let's see. Double Lele, of course, will not be able to go for a Protect, so that would be an opportunity for James to go for that final Gambit if he wanted to.
Yeah, well, we're not actually going to see the final Gambit, though. Playing it a little bit safe here, James is going to opt to protect both of his Pokemon, not even Ultra Bursting their own Necrozma. So Tapu Lele opening up with a Dazzling Gleam here. Juan getting very, very aggressive in this first play. This is very similar to what we saw in his top 8 play, where Juan opened up with some really offensive moves.
Yep. So now James knows that Juan's Tapu Lele is forced to go for a Dazzling Gleam or switch out, since it is equipped with a Choice Scarf. And that piece of information might help him to make a decision for this next turn. Juan, though, deciding that he wants to keep his Necrozma safe. We are seeing the final Gambit hit into the Protect. Okay, so that is what Juan wanted to see. And now, as Dazzling Gleam is coming out, while James's Necrozma did not Ultra Revert, it's just regular damage and not super effective. And the Moongeist Beam will also get the same type attack bonus. So this might be enough for the knockout on Tapu Lele.
Ooh, it is going to be enough on the knockout there. I don't even know if the critical hit actually mattered for that one.
Yeah.
But it is kind of cool to see it anyway.
What is interesting to note about this now is that Excelgor took a little bit of damage from the Dazzling Gleam, so now its final Gambit will do less damage, meaning that Necrozma or that Stakataka should be able to take that attack. And that can now really help Juan to know that, well, if James wants to get a knockout on a Pokemon, he might have to double up into it now. Though James, on the other hand, he's the only one who knows how much HP his Excelgor is at exactly. So if he knows how much HP Stakataka usually has, then he can kind of guess on whether it's going to be enough for the knockout or not. So that's going to be very exciting, because I think it's pretty close here between the HP stats.
It is very close. James knows those damage calculations. You know that playing with Excelgor, you're going to have to be able to calculate this final Gambit going into the Stakataka that just got a chance to switch in here, and that's a decent chunk of damage.
But
Excelgor, yeah, does have to take the fall for that one, but we are seeing Necrozma fire back.
Yeah, with that Earth Power,
yeah,
doubling up into that Stakataka, so he knew, okay, my Excelgor does not have enough HP left to get the knockout, so instead he's going to double up and will prevent the Trick Room that way. However, Moongeist Beam coming out from Juan, and that is going to be a super effective hit, powered by Neuroforce, getting the knockout. So James losing both Pokemon here, however, not before, of course, eliminating the Stakataka. And now, both of them are down to the very last two Pokemon. Everyone's still at full HP, but, well, let's see and find out what these trainers brought in the back.
What's very interesting is that even though James brought the Excelgor, we are seeing that James also brought their own Tapu Lele to the fight here, as well as a Groudon matched up against Juan's Groudon. Juan looks like they have more damage on board.
Yes, especially with that Ultra Necrozma, of course, that still could go for that Light That Burns the Sky Z move, and we have seen that yesterday, how much damage that really does.
Yeah.
Especially in Psychic Terrain, of course.
And against a Groudon.
Yeah, so Tapu Lele with the Choice Scarf has the speed advantage and can outspeed Ultra Necrozma. However, Moonblast is just barely not enough to get the knockout usually. And I think, well, if Juan wants to, he could go for like a Fire Punch into the Tapu Lele and Light That Burns the Sky into his opponent's Groudon. And there's not that much that James can do here. He can hope for a Moonblast to get the knockout on Necrozma, or he could maybe hope to that his opponent does not go for the KO here. But yep, we are seeing Moonblast, and let's see how much damage that does.
Yeah, not opting to go for the Protect here. That actually leaves Necrozma pretty vulnerable, but it hangs on. Low HP, but the special attack drop.
That could be huge. So of course, Juan still going for the Light That Burns the Sky, but now with the reduced special attack, is it going to be enough to knock out the Groudon of James? And we've seen it yesterday. James's Groudon was faster than Juan's, so if it can take this hit, this could swing this game around.
This is so important. And
this is really important.
I'm waiting in bated breath here whether
Yeah.
or not this is going to be enough, but it is going to be the light that burns the sky.
Yeah, it's a pretty long animation, so both of them have to have a little bit of time to think about what they're gonna do. But I think, well, we all just have to wait and see how much damage this does. Groudon is just sitting there. He's like, uh-oh, there's a big ball of energy coming its way, and whew, yeah, even if that reduced special attack, that's gonna do a lot of damage. But how much is it going to be?
Oh, it's going down, but it hangs on. James's Groudon actually is able to survive the light that burns the sky. That special attack drop was so important,
But he's going for the sword stance.
Oh no.
Oh wow. Hey, maybe he was expecting something like a protect to come out from Groudon, or maybe he was thinking that the only way for him to win this game anyway would be to maybe like get a critical hit on the Necrozma, or maybe get a protect or something like that. So no, he did not go for the attack because he did not consider the special attack drop, I believe.
Wow.
And now that means that Juan has another opportunity. His Necrozma can go for Photon Geyser and get the knockout. James knows this, forfeits the game, and Juan will take the first game, and is just one game away from advancing to the finals.
Oh, you hate to see that though, because that was such a missed opportunity on James's part, where he could have taken the opportunity to knock out Juan's Necrozma. That would have been huge.
Absolutely hate to see it, and James knows this as well. This is one of those situations where you really gotta think, okay, like maybe my opponent has a, say, 95% to win the game. So what are my 5% gonna be? And he was thinking that his only chance was that his opponent was maybe protecting, and he wanted to take advantage of that. However, with that special attack drop, that was just like one more out that he had and that he did not consider. And so unfortunately for James, Juan is able to close out that game even after the special attack drop.
Yeah, it sometimes comes down to that though. Particularly in mirror matches, you kind of need to be looking at every single possibility, every single out that you have in order to win that game. And the chance of getting that special attack drop is so low that I think James still played around not having the ability to get that special attack drop, but you hate to see it.
Yeah, definitely. And James also knows this, and he will not let that happen for a second time. But the question is, will he get even another chance? As Juan, in this game at least, he looked pretty strong with the new confidence that he got from beating Jeremy, and also from all the support that he's getting from the Latin American scene. We have heard it from Javier. He said that Juan, as being such an up-and-coming player, he's really rooting for him to advance to the finals. And just one more win, and we will have a Latin America international champion from Latin America for the very first time. So this is going to be a very important game, not only for Juan and James, but also for all their fans and supporters. And once again, James trusts the Excelgor to be the Pokemon carrying him to a Game 3.
We'll see if the final Gambit can pay off, though, for Excelgor this time. Ended up doing it into a protect early on in Game 1, so missing a bit of an opportunity there, but this is a new game. Both of these players have a new game plan and how they're going to attack this next game.
Yeah, James could just go for the final Gambit into that Tabulele. There's not really much Tabulele can do besides switching out. Once again, we are just seeing the protect from Necrozma decides not to go for the Ultra Reversion, because then, well, final Gambit, being a fighting type attack, not hitting against the Ghost type, but okay, it is going into the protect, and Moonblast just attacking into that Necrozma, which then also did not go for the Ultra Reversion, which is a pretty interesting thing to note. Both of them deciding that they want to keep the Necrozma in the Dawn Wings form and getting a clean knockout on Tabulele with Moongeist Beam.
Yeah, that is going to be a one Pokemon advantage here for James, and he already got a chance to take advantage of the Psychic Seed for Excelgor, so going to be very, very fast here. But Jumpluff now, a very interesting adaptation here for Juan. We didn't get a chance to see Jumpluff in Game 1.
Yep, you did not, and now finally Jumpluff is making an appearance once again, but let's see, since there's no Groudon on the field now, the speed is of course not doubled, and Excelgor, with that Unburden ability, can also outpace Jumpluff even if the sun were up. So Jumpluff cannot really make that much use of its speed stat right now. But let's see, if it's equipped with that Focus Sash, definitely could take an attack, even the final Gambit, and go for a Sleep Powder on Necrozma if it wanted to.
Well, James's Necrozma Ultra Bursting, so we will get a chance to see their Necrozma potentially moving first here, because Juan's is now Ultra Bursting. Think about that.
Yeah.
That priority there.
Yeah, that's going to be very important. Acid Spray, though, just coming out, hitting the jump bluff for a little bit of damage, also reducing its special defense harshly, and yeah, breaking that focus sash. So Photon Geyser coming out from James will easily get that knockout, and jump bluff once again, it just doesn't get to do anything really in these games. But Juan takes the opportunity to go for Moongeist Beam, and yeah, we would guess this is going into Necrozma of James, getting the knockout there.
I feel like Necrozma did more of its job, though, this time for James. So I think he's still okay with the knockout, but we haven't seen a Z move yet from James be effective against Juan.
Yeah, and we also didn't see Juan's Z move yet, so that is definitely something to keep in mind now going into this next turn, as Salamence makes an appearance for James. We'll get the Intimidate drop off on Juan's Groudon that also now joins and is primary reverting. So Juan down to his last two Pokemon. James maybe with a little bit of more room to maneuver and breathe. However, well, it's two restricted Pokemon against two non-restricted Pokemon, so that's definitely playing in Juan's favor. And if he can get that big Light That Burns the Sky off on, say, the Salamence, then that would be a huge play for him.
Especially because both of the Salamences for James and Juan carry that Tailwind. So you can really use that, particularly in maybe the Necrozma matchup, to get that advantage, get the speed in your favor. But we also saw from James's Necrozma, it moved first last round.
Yeah, maybe that could be something for a potential Game 3. I think this turn is now coming down to whether James is able to get that final Gambit off on Juan's Necrozma, or if that Pokemon protects, or if Juan is able to connect with a Fire Punch on Excelgor to get the knockout there. So James is expecting the Fire Punch, protects his Excelgor. Now what does Necrozma do? Oh, actually double protect. So he was really expecting a protect to come out from that Necrozma, I think. And that is exactly what we see. So nice play on James there. While it may look like nothing's really happening here, that actually reduces the chance of Necrozma successfully going for a protect in the next turn. And Juan does not have any Pokemon in the back, so he's forced to stay in and attack with the Necrozma rather than being able to switch out. So James will now, I think, definitely go for the final Gambit here. Juan attempts the double protect, but does get it.
Wow, he does get it here. Did James go for the final Gambit into that protect? Yes, he did. So Necrozma protecting itself from there. Salamence, though, using the Hyper Voice, will be able to connect at least with the Groudon, and that's going to be at least a bit of damage there.
This should be Fire Punch now aimed at that Excelgor. And yeah, that's a super effective move in the harsh sunlight. And Excelgor goes down. Yeah, that would have been huge for James if Juan's Necrozma was not able to go for that consecutive protect. That would have been a big knockout there, but nope. Instead, Juan is the one getting the KO this turn, and now James all of a sudden also is down to his last two Pokemon. However, it is his trusted Groudon.
Yeah, that Groudon that we've already mentioned does move before Juan's, but this is where it gets interesting because in this scenario, Necrozma is probably gonna move first.
Yeah, and Necrozma can kind of choose its target now. Where does Juan want to go, and where will Light That Burns the Sky hit? And I think this is probably going to be the deciding factor of the game. It is worth noting, however, that this is the last turn of Psychic Terrain. So if James wanted to, he could double protect both his Pokemon, ensuring that there was not going to be the boost by the Psychic Terrain. Salamence protects, and Groudon also goes for the protect. Okay, so this means that we will not see Psychic Terrain boosting the Z move for the next turn. However, that will also mean that Juan kind of knows that there's not going to be protect on the next turn on James's side, and he can pick his target accordingly.
Well, he's still going to use the Z move this turn. It will go through the protect, but that protect is going to do so much to actually save one of James's Pokemon for that next turn. That's very important.
Yeah, definitely. So Juan still able to use the terrain to boost this attack just a little bit, but protect really reducing the damage a lot. So, well, for the next turn, James's Groudon, if it feels safe. Oh, okay, it's actually going
it's
into
actually the Salamence.
Huh. So then that way, I don't think that Juan has an opportunity to knock out Groudon the next turn. Because Groudon will still be at full HP. The Salamence taking
so much.
A lot of damage.
Even through the protect.
Yeah, wow. And a sword dance!
Oh, a sword dance from Juan. Are you sure about that now, whether or not this Groudon is going to actually get the knockout onto James's Groudon?
Well, yeah, that's a big play by Juan, identifying that, well, so he was basically saying, okay, this Groudon is definitely protecting. I don't know what Salamence is going to do. If it attacks, well, I'll knock it out. But, sorry, if it does not protect, then I'll knock it out with Light That Burns the Sky. But if it attacks, I'll use that opportunity to set up a sword stance. Now, Salamence on James' side will be moving first, but that is not enough for a knockout on either Pokemon. And now it'll come down to what happens between these Groudons, because I think this might be targeted at the Salamence. Yep, gets the KO. And now James is down to his last Groudon. You can see his hands. He's really hoping for these Precipice Blades to connect.
Necrozma avoided it.
Necrozma avoids the attack.
That's
really
actually
big.
huge. That means that Necrozma has a chance to fire back, even though Juan's Groudon goes down in that super effective move. Necrozma is going to move first.
Yeah, it's going to be a 1v1 now between Groudon and Necrozma. Groudon, though, still at full HP.
No psychic terrain.
No psychic terrain, yeah. Could be enough for the Groudon to take any incoming attack and then fire back with Precipice Blades. So let's see, though. Earth Power coming out on James's Groudon. It hangs
survives.
in there, but will Precipice Blades connect? It does
It
connect.
does!
How much damage is this going to do? So a lot of things going on, and it is enough for the knockout. We're going into Game 3.
Wow, you can see that celebration there. You can see the wave of relief going over James's face that this is going to a Game 3.
Yeah, definitely. He was so close facing elimination here against Juan, but now all of a sudden you could argue that the momentum might be on his side, as he's now the one tying up that series after such an intense game. And yeah, in the end, it was the Groudon after all that managed to get that final knockout. But Juan, once again, playing really, really well there with his Ultra Necrozma, spreading a lot of damage on the board. But once again, his own Groudon being slower is just such a big deal. He was boosted, he had doubled the attack stat. It would have been an easy knockout on his opponent's Groudon, but, well, James's Groudon moved first, got the knockout, and even with that Precipice Blades miss, in the end, James is the one who came out on top in that second game.
Do you feel like Juan should bring their own Salamence to have the ability to set up Tailwind?
Yeah, that's a very good question, or a good idea, because if the speed advantage was on Juan's side there between the two Groudons, I think it's pretty safe to say that he could have had that game. So Salamence, that's one option for him to set up Tailwind, outspeed his opponent's Groudon, and then really do a lot of damage with Precipice Blades. I think that's a pretty good idea. The jump left just didn't do that much for him in the two previous games that we saw where he brought it today and yesterday. So I think, yeah, maybe if he was able to set up Tailwind, that would have been huge. But at the same time, where do you find an opportunity? Your opponent has that Choice Scarf Tapu Lele that moves before Salamence and is threatening a knockout with Moonblast. So you really got to be very, very careful here. And it looks like James is actually the one who will attempt to go for that Tailwind strategy here in the deciding third and final game. Both of them, once again, leading off with Necrozma. And we have seen how crazy things can go with that. Do they go for the Ultra Reversion or do they go for the Moongeist Beam? That's really an important question to answer. And then, of course, also that Tapu Lele on Juan's side now with the Choice Scarf would outspeed the Salamence of his opponent and is threatening a knockout with Moonblast. So does James go for the Protect and try to get the knockout there? But then Juan, on the other hand, well, he could try and double up on a Necrozma. So really a lot of things are going on here in this very first turn already.
There's so many different avenues that both of these players have to think about. They need to be a couple steps ahead here, but it's going to be an Ultra Reversion here, or an Ultra Burst, excuse me, here from James's Necrozma. You've got the Mega Evolution as well on the Salamence. No switches yet, and another Ultra Burst now coming up from Juan's Necrozma. It's about to get very offensive from both of these players.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that a lot, but it's actually pretty interesting seeing when both of these players decide to go for the Ultra Burst. But just the Moonblast, no Protect. Wow, this is not what James was hoping for. The knockout on Salamence means that there is not going to be any Tailwind on James's side, and a huge threat out of the way for his own Groudon.
Oh, especially because we're now seeing that this Necrozma is going to take out, wow, the Tapu. Oh, it hangs on!
4 HP, and now Juan is the one who gets off another Moongeist Beam into his opponent's Necrozma. That also hangs on. But Juan still has the Tapu Lele, and if there is no Excelgor coming out, James does not have an option to outspeed Tapu Lele the next turn. Let's see, though, his own Tapu Lele joining the battlefield. And now we have a true mirror going on between these two players. However, the one difference is that Juan's Tapu Lele is the one with low HP, but I believe we saw it move before James's Tapu Lele in previous games. And yeah, that means the advantage definitely in Juan's side now.
James was really looking forward to getting that Tailwind setup, knowing that Juan's Necrozma is faster.
Yep.
So when it comes down to this mirror, you really need to have some of that speed on your side. And unfortunately for James, that just didn't quite work out in his favor. Juan leading with the same two Pokemon did work, but a Protect
and
here.
It looks like Juan is celebrating, so he is targeting his opponent's Tapu Lele. Moonblast is coming out first. That will not do the trick, but then there is his Moongeist Beam probably also going into that slot. Or did he just go for the Z move to get the knockout through the Protect?
Ooh, well, a Dazzling Gleam that is going to remove Juan's Tapu Lele from the board, but yes, it is going to be a Moongeist Beam doubling into James's Tapu Lele.
And that is a knockout. And James, down to his last two Pokemon here, once again fighting for his tournament life. Only one of them, of course, can advance to the final. Juan now has the opportunity to switch in one of his remaining Pokemon. He does, of course, not have the option to go with Excelgor, which would be a fantastic Pokemon in this situation, as it's outspeeding Necrozma. But nope, he does the opposite thing. He switches in a Pokemon that is very slow. Stakataka joins the battlefield.
Stakataka, an interesting one, because we normally see Stakataka used as a Trick Room setter or a good counter to, particularly a good counter to Xerneas, but no Xerneas here, so a very interesting adaptation here for Juan.
Yeah, he brought Stakataka now in. When the two Pokemon that Stakataka is best against on James's field, the Salamence and the Tapu Lele, have already been knocked out. So yeah, not the best of situations for Stakataka, but it's still threatening a lot of damage on the Necrozma, and it's also could potentially set up Trick Room, because that's another way for Juan to manipulate the speed tiers. And if he was able to set up Trick Room, and if he has his own Primal Groudon in the back, that would be another way for him to ensure that his Groudon moves before his opponents and gets the KO that way.
Well, Necrozma for Juan, protecting. It's done a lot of work here, so it will be able to take a bit of a break. Does get one of those moves soaked up here from James's Necrozma, but the Precipice Blades is going to connect on that Stakataka, popping that berry.
And with that Shuka Berry, Stakataka should be able to take this attack, except for a critical hit. A critical hit! Wow, that was the perfect time for James. That is exactly what he needed. Knocking out the Stakataka, and that is ensuring that no Trick Room is coming up. And now all of a sudden Juan is also down to his last two Pokemon, and you can see the frustration in his face. He knows now that his opponent's Groudon is the faster one between the two. However, we still have the option to go for that Light That Burns the Sky, right?
Yes, we have an option from both of these players to do the Light That Burns the Sky, and we haven't seen James use a Z move yet in this match. Necrozma for both of them, though, sitting within striking range of each other's Groudon.
Yeah, wow, that is coming down to the wire. Now, if Juan Stakataka was able to make it through the turn and maybe get the knockout on Necrozma of his opponent, that would have been really big, but now we are seeing the Z-Dance. Which one is moving first? Actually, I think
that's James's.
Isn't that James's character?
That's James's.
Was
James's Necrozma is moving first. Was it?
I guess it must have been, as now we, see the animation go off. James's Necrozma is the one that will use Light That Burns the Sky first.
No protects on the board. This means that this is going to be a very potent Z move.
Wow, but who is it targeting? It should be going into the Groudon, right? But
you would think so.
But then if Juan also does that, does this game just come down to a speed tie?
Oh my goodness. This is going to be the next couple of turns. Groudon on the receiving end of the Light That Burns the Sky. Is it going to be enough to get that clean one-hit knockout?
Yeah, earlier we have seen how after the special attack drop, Juan's Necrozma was not able to get that KO on that same Pokemon on James' side, but here, no special attack drop, and it is just the knockout. So what does Juan's Necrozma do?
Oh my goodness, it's actually going to come. This is so interesting.
Yep.
A Z move now getting a chance to fire back from Juan's side of the field.
Wow. Yeah, incredible. No protects for both of these players. Or did he decide to go for the Necrozma?
Did he go for the Necrozma?
To try and go for the KO through the protect? I highly doubt it, but yeah, so once again, Light That Burns the Sky. Also taking a little bit of time off the clock, but I don't think that it's going to be a factor in this game. So let's see there. And
waiting so patiently here. It is going to be James's Groudon. No special attack drop. was able to survive when that was on the field, but we don't know how this is going to end for this particular Groudon in this situation. Is it still going to be another knockout for James's Groudon? Yes,
and
it is.
Wow, and it looks like this game will be coming down to a true 50-50. Of course, Juan's Necrozma has a little bit more HP left, but that's not going to help because Moonguy's Beam from James's Necrozma will be enough to get that knockout thanks to Neuroforce and it being super effective. So now this is all coming down to this, and James is moving first.
No way.
James
is actually moving first in this game. The 50-50 speed tie, that's going to be it to knock it out.
And that is going to be it for Juan. James Baek will advance to the finals of the 2020 Latin America International Championships. What an ending here to the games that we are featuring from the Masters Division. Wow, and James also is in a little bit of disbelief. It looked so good for Juan for the beginning of that game, but then the critical hit turned things around. And he is the one. He will be playing tomorrow against Javier in the grand finals. What a great story. And once again, the dream is still alive for James and for a US player to take this tournament. But Juan on the other end, wow, he played so well through this set and then also his top 8 set before against Jeremy. He came so close to advancing to the finals, but in the end, there can only be one. And yeah, well, that is James.
I gotta give this specific moment some credit though. Juan Salerno, senior player, recently turned Masters. The emotion that you got a chance to see in his face when he won his top 8 match. And the disappointment you could see in his face, losing to James in that speed tie. I have to give that some respect because it really does hit me in the heart because I understand those emotions and I can empathize how that... I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, sometimes those two are just so close to another in Pokemon. It's a strategic game, of course, and then sometimes you just also have to have a little bit of luck in the key moments. This time around, it was James who, well, had that critical hit, put him in a position where he just had to win that 50-50. But, well, I mean, it's a true mirror match, and sometimes that's just what it comes down to. I think I would say Juan definitely played a very, very good game. I would say they were both on even terms, and then in the end, well, there can only be one, and yeah, as we were saying, that's going to be James.
I know that this didn't go quite in Juan's favor, but I think it's all safe to say from everybody here that Juan has solidified themselves as a top player and one to look out for in the Masters Division for events to come.
Definitely one of the best players